Now is not the time. Now is not the time, y'all. Now is not the time. Okay, well, when is the time? When is the time? Was the time 2003 when the Department of Homeland Security and ICE were created? Was the time 2010 with the Citizens United ruling? Was the time after January 6th? Like, when is the time? Because the thing I keep hearing from Democrats, especially, centrist Dems, the DNC, DCCC, stands, neoliberals, etc., is always, now is not the time. Some other time in the future we can discuss these hard issues. We can discuss building the kind of America that we all deserve. But right now we're in a crisis, and so not now. Now's not the time. But in the capitalistic hellscape tipped into full-on kleptocracy that is the United States, it's always a state of crisis. We are always in crisis because we are always being denied the things that we, the American people, need and deserve. The things that would create a stable and prosperous life for us are not being extended to us, and we're told just to wait. It very much is the same sunk cost fallacy that Donald Trump and Elon Musk tell the Republicans. I'll make America great in a couple of weeks. We can work on this later. You got to suffer for a while, but eventually, just over the next hill. There isn't any incentive for establishment corporate Democrats to change the system because they benefit from this system. They like shit the way it is. And I think for us, the American people, we have to embrace the reality that the time is now. There is no one struggle we're going to engage in and then move on to the next one. There is no waiting until things are peaceful and prosperous to get reforms, because that peace and prosperity will never happen without those reforms. And I know I've said this a lot over the last year, especially because people are repeatedly feeling betrayed, disappointed, crushed by corporate Democrats, especially Democratic leadership, that seems to fail us over and over and over again. And then we're expected to have loyalty for the Democratic Party and to vote for them and support them unconditionally, which makes no sense because they are our elected representatives. They work for us. If we have loaned them our measures of power and they are being irresponsible with those measures of power, part of our civic duty as American citizens is to give them feedback and potentially revoke that power and give it to somebody else in the next election. And our frustration is palpable. It's reflected in the abysmal approval ratings of Democrats in Congress and Chuck Schumer in particular. I know that we all wish that we had a situation in which we could focus all of our energy on combating the fascist GOP, on protecting our constitutional rights and American democracy from the onslaught of the Trump regime and the fascist GOP. But the reality is that we have to fight multiple fights on multiple fronts. And I know it's so unfair. It feels really exhausting, because it is exhausting, and it is deeply unfair that we not only have to work for reforms and to fight with and drag kicking and screaming members of the party who should be on our side, who should be tenacious fighters with us, who should be true allies with us. But they're not. They're not. Ezra Levin from Indivisible said a couple of weeks ago, he wants a big tent, but there's no room under that tent for cowards. And he was referencing Chuck Schumer in that statement. And that's something that I've said for a long time, is that I will ally with anybody who is willing to fight against the Trump regime and to try to protect democracy. But those people have to actually be in this fight with us. I'm willing to ally with people who are actually allies. And it doesn't feel like leadership in the Democratic Party actually are allies in this fight at all, because it doesn't feel like it, because they're not. And I think the truth of the matter is that we are constantly going to have to struggle on multiple fronts. We're going to have to spend our energy, our time, not lose focus on multiple areas in order to get through this, and in order to have the reforms that we need, the justice that we deserve, and to create an America that is of, by, and for the people. It's not as simple. It's not as simple as fighting the fascists and having everybody else together in a cohesive coalition, because that's just not the reality of the situation. I would love to see us be like Chile and have a broad coalition of people all over the political spectrum who are united around one thing, that we're not going to let Donald Trump and Stephen Miller destroy our democracy. But that's not the state of play in the US right now. And so when I hear establishment Democrats saying, not now, it's not the time for these conversations, put that off until later, until after this is all over. It won't be all over unless we have a multi-pronged strategy that targets all of these systems of oppression at once. I know that doesn't feel great. I know it's exhausting to just focus on the one thing in front of us, which is Trump and ICE, but all of these other things that we can and should be talking about, it's all the same problem. It's all a component of the same oppression that we are all experiencing. And so I think now is the time. I think now is always the time to be talking about all of these things.